paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, that's downright refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And yes,
I don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
Well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Brainstorm Brewery, the only podcast where, if you're me, your entire week is filled with people spamming you about your Canadian Highlander deck that got stolen. Thanks,
I don't know why
Jason.
people would do that, but I do have some glasses to send out. Maybe if people do it in like a week or two, I'll send them glasses because I only have like 20 left, and more people than I anticipated are really into trolling Corbin.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I can appreciate a good troll. However, I'll have those of you out there tagging me know that there is a difference between those of you who tagged me on Tuesday or Wednesday, implying that you went to patreon.com/BSB and listened to the cast early. And those of you who tagged me on Saturday or Sunday, implying not only did you not get the cast until Friday at youtube.com/Brainstorm Brewery, but you even waited a few days to listen to it and then troll me. So I see you.
Yeah.
And Jason does too, and you can have a
I like
blast,
how it trickled in. You know, you don't have to be someone who goes to patreon.com/BSB and gives us $20 a month to have access to this handsome drinking glass and other amenities. I don't know. DJ's not here to know what our Patreon perks are, but we send stuff out a lot. We spend all of the money that you give us on shipping to send perks out. So that's approximately how much we send out. So I said, hey, why not send something back? So someone who does go to patreon.com/BSB and is a patron is Steak on our Discord, aka Alex, who sent me this delicious Shorts exterior illumination. Shorts is a brewery in Michigan that should sponsor us. I've tried to make that happen. Maybe I'll try again. But Alex did not want me to talk about anything. But if you would like me to plug something reasonable, like ideally something that you work on, like I don't want someone to be like, all right, here's a PBR, plug ISIS, would you, for 5 minutes? I'm not going to do that, but like, I've had a few people send me a beer and talk about, have me talk about like their restaurant or stuff like that. I'm super into that. So this is a new segment called You Send Me a Beer, I Drink It and Say Nice Things About You. Steak, you're great. Thanks for being a bud. Thanks for getting a beer with me that one time. And thanks for us having another beer right now. I hope you got one to drink while you listen to the cast. I'm not going to listen to the cast. I'll be honest. I was here for it. This segment was rough and it will get better. So thank you for sending me a beer. And
will it
yes,
though?
people in the future will have something for me to plug, and that will give this structure. I'll be like,
so what you're saying
it
was their fault, not yours.
You said that.
Yep, that's what I heard from Jason.
I'm gonna drink during the time where I should be disagreeing.
Yep, perfect. Anyway, so yeah, DJ is off. DJ's off getting his knee repaired from the fall. So this week we have somebody who is going to talk to you about something DJ would, let's just say, not care about, and that's a Magic Arena. So we have with us,
a guy with a busted leg who can't leave his couch is like, I hate Arena. It's like,
yeah,
right.
It's horrible. We have with us the Power Dragon himself, Dequan Watson, YouTuber, gamer, streamer, podcaster, commentator, writer, everything else that you can imagine.
He
Dequan's
specifically told you not to list everything.
Hey, I'm just reading the Twitter bio. It's what I do. Dequan, welcome into the show. How you doing?
I am doing great, honestly. There's a ton to talk about. Also, by the way, I think the idea of you getting sponsored by a beer company is great. I honestly think more gamers need to get non-gamer things to sponsor them. So just putting that out in the world. I just recently did one with Pane Glasses, who's an eyewear company, because I looked around and not anybody in the gaming space or Magic players at all do anything with eyewear, and got a deal and did some projects. So, you know, stuff's out there.
Oh,
Pane's good. Eyeglasses, it's a racket. This is not copy they sent me. I've heard other people talk about it, and it's like, 95% of eyeglasses are like one company
Yep.
and they make the price high. And then somebody else is like, can we make glasses? And they're like, yeah, it's not illegal, but it is like kind of a racket.
I
And
used
so
them one
All they have to
time,
do is just
and
be cheaper.
yeah, I got like 3 pair of glasses for like $130 or something. I was like, yeah, I'd like to rep these people.
They should pay us. We're not sponsored by them. How did you sneak that in there? I love that.
I'm good at what I do. I'm good at
My
what
wife wears eyeglasses, so like it's not completely irrelevant.
Fair. So yeah,
DJ got LASIK, right? I love glasses though. I prefer glasses.
Yeah, well, apparently couldn't see the ground coming up at him, so maybe he needs to get his LASIK adjusted.
well, I'm wearing contacts right now. When it's like rainy and I'm going to be doing stuff outside, I wear contacts. But most of the time, I actually wear glasses.
Yeah, I always wore contact. I was the kid who never took them out though. So after several months of that, my parents were like, "Yeah, you're gonna get glasses."
Oh,
now.
I'm still that kid today. Like this is like day 4 of these.
Are you supposed to take them out a lot?
Hasn't
Probably
affected me
not.
yet.
I don't know. Yeah, like
Right?
They say you're supposed to take them out every night, clean them, put them back in. But I'm like, I don't know. They're disposable. I'll wear them 4 or 5 days and then just toss them away and then wear glasses for like 2 weeks and
'Cause
whatever.
I think that's how they get you. They tell you, like, you gotta take them out every night. And you're like, a paramecium will dissolve my eyeballs if I don't take them out. And it's just like nothing bad
Oh, I've
happens.
seen some pretty gross
The first
stuff.
time you leave them in overnight,
Yeah.
you're like, I bet I'm invincible.
Yeah, but that's not this kind of show. But there is some gross stuff out there if you want to see it from that.
it could be that kind of show.
How would it get really what I want to know is like, how is it terrible? Because like, was it fine the day before and then they woke
See,
up
that's
and it
my
was
thing.
terrible?
That's my thing. I feel
Or
like
did it like slowly
Yeah,
just
once
like,
it gets
a
man, it's
little
hard to
red
see in here.
or a little itchy or something, like you should
Yeah.
probably know.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know.
It's like the end point of that story every time is just going to be like they live either in like the depths of the third world or they live in America. Like those are the only 2 options.
Hell, we have a lot of places in America that are like third world. So
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
resemble the third world at all. We
That's,
have
those-
worse
those-
income inequality than the third world. When nobody has money, they don't have income inequality, and we have lots of that here. So
that's why you guys help. See, you give people ways to get money.
That's what we try to do. You can tell by all the splinter frets I have over in the corner that I'm very good at this. But yeah, so we wanted to talk a little bit about the arena economy tonight because that's been a whole thing. But before we do that, Dequan, let's talk about what you've been up to over the last few years during the pandemic. And you've like we talked about, you've got a lot of projects going on. You've been involved in a lot of stuff over the past few years. What are you up to these days?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I was actually working with Card Kingdom and I'm going to use quotes, released from my job, but like basically I got fired. But and don't worry, nothing bad. We're still friendly over there. They were just restructuring, and I was one of a few jobs that got let go. But
we know about that wheel.
yeah, it happens.
Just in general, yeah.
But it was
Corbin's
interesting.
been laid off by every Magic content website.
Fair. No, but that was actually around like right before Thanksgiving 2019, like the week before, which timing sucked, but whatever. I had a nice little severance package. I had some money saved up, so it wasn't a big deal. And I was like already doing my podcast. We just started like a month or 2 before.
Mm-hmm.
I just started streaming a few weeks before that. So I was like, you know what? Let me just see how hard I can go on this content stuff full time. And I'll give it a year. If I can pay at least 70% of my bills in a year, then I'll keep doing it. And here we are like 2.5 years later. So it kind of worked out. Though I will say, the pandemic kind of effed me up. I'm not going to lie, because I had this whole plan of I was originally going to do the business side of the game industry. So because, that's my history. So I'd reached out to a bunch of stores. I'd talked to people that are running events. I'd already started scheduling and booking stuff. I mean, I still have like business cards, equipment I've never used, because we quit traveling. We quit visiting people. So I pivoted and started doing a bunch of stuff online, and it seems to work out so far.
Yeah, I mean, you've done a bunch of stuff over the past couple of years. I mean, what is sort of all the different stuff you've worked on over the past, in this sort of this time that you've been diving full into content, what I guess have you enjoyed doing the most? Like, what has been the niche you've really found that you've enjoyed?
I think it's 2 things. One, I really enjoyed doing commentary, depending on the structure, because like it was really good getting to do commentary with Channel Fireball because they were very kind of like open to suggestions. And after we'd worked together once or twice, they kind of let me have reign of the flow of the program. So as long as I was able to go in and out cleanly, listening to the person in my ear, giving them the right cues, it worked out great. And it was an opportunity to get to talk with several of the pros that I hadn't met yet, because they always paired me with one of their pro players. So that was actually pretty cool, getting to learn each of them and how to work with each person that you have sitting across from you. Because, when I worked with Huey is like super chill, right? Like he's sloth level chill sometimes. But the opposite is you get somebody like Reed or like Juza, who's very upbeat, joking, whatever.
Yeah.
So I had to learn, okay, cool. I work this way with this type of person. I give them these type of questions. I know how long they're going to expand on topics or whatever. And that's been really cool. It actually is carried over to a lot of other stuff I do, and has actually been really great. The other thing...
Yeah, go ahead.
The other thing I'd say I enjoy has actually been being somewhat of an educator in a way, because my background is basically my whole adult life has been in the game industry, mostly tabletop gaming. But I've run a convention, I've run a retail store, I've helped develop games, I've had the opportunity to work for Wizards, I've done all these different things. And the average person doing Magic content or gaming content for that matter really doesn't have that background. So a lot of times when stuff comes up, it's actually pretty cool to be able to talk about stuff with a little more clarity of just like, hey, here's a reason this might have happened. Or, hey, this may look this way, but here's what goes on behind the scenes. Or here's the real cost of something to an LGS or whatever. And that's actually been something that my audience has been really receptive to, which is funny because now they tell me like I'm probably the best content creator that nobody knows about. But, maybe they find me eventually.
Well, look, yeah, that's what I was going to say. This is the we learned this lesson a long time ago. We've been doing this podcast. Jason, by the way, I noticed our Twitter account, Brainstorm Brewery Twitter account, joined 10 years ago this month.
Awesome.
So we've been doing this for a minute.
Podcast how long have we?
Well, it has to have been nearly that long, right?
I mean, I could imagine.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm looking at how fast 2 years went by for me. So I'm sure 10 runs up on you pretty fast.
Yes. We're nearing episode 500, which in theory means somewhere around 10 years, right?
Feels like 30.
Yeah, I'm only on episode, where are we, 128 we're recording this week. So
nice. I'd say you made it past episode 100. You're good to go. But it's more like if you do 3 podcast episodes.
I think early on, the numbers I saw were like most shows don't get past 5, which I was like, wow, that's not a long try to even figure out your audience at that point.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess it depends. Like, there's so much people who are like, hey, let's get together, do this. And then they release it and, they get a dozen downloads and they're like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
But it obviously it helps if you're doing something in a space like Magic where you sort of have a built-in audience.
I think that's the case for all content, though. I think a lot of people just figure, okay, I'm going to get a camera, I'm going to set some stuff up so I can record, and then people are just going to show up. And apparently, and I found this out, apparently there's people that stream for like 3 to 5 years that never get more than 5 viewers. And I'm like, man, I got to give you credit because I'd have given up at that point. Like,
it's not just some people. It's if you have 20 or more viewers, you're in like the top 1%. It's crazy.
Yeah, which is bonkers to me that's a true fact, but it is.
Well, and Twitch is the landscape of streaming and everything.
Sure.
Everything's just so different than it was even 5 years ago that, I used to feel like we missed out by doing our main thing being podcasting, right? But when Twitch was getting new, and Twitch gets, of course, all the support from Wizards and any other company just throws money at you if you're streaming to 30 people on Twitch, blah, blah, blah. But man, that grind is not something that I think I have in me.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you ever want to talk about that on an episode, bring me back. I have literal hours of things we could talk about as far as what that landscape looks like between them and the other two big platforms.
Yeah. Yep. It's a whole thing that I just kind of get to say I'm a boomer on. We'll put our podcasts out there and that's enough. That's enough. Yeah. Cool. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about the latest sort of, I want to call it magic drama, but I don't know that it's magic drama in the sense that it's sort of ridiculous or over the top or
it's more magic disappointment than magic drama. I mean, the announcement was kind of largely what everybody expected it was going to be. I mean, it was more just telling you, hey, here's why we do certain things more than, hey, here's a cool thing we're about to do.
Yeah, so the context, for everyone at home wondering why we're talking about this, the arena economy has been a big deal, and as you know, we are in Magic Finance Podcast. Look, we don't talk about arena that much because I play it. I don't think Jason and DJ even touch it, but I certainly don't. I draft, and of course, from what I understand, that makes me one of the lucky few on arena who have the entire system work for them as a drafter, right? In terms of getting your cards and blah blah blah. If you're anything other than a dedicated drafter, I believe that arena is terrible. And there's been so much talk about it over the past year or so as they've released more and more extra sets, card dumps, new sets, new formats, digital only cards, along with all the bugs you could want. And they finally said, we're going to talk about the arena economy with you all. And they hosted a weekly MTG segment where they took listener questions. You know, they put some people out there in the way of fire, and fire the community did. So that's kind of the context leading up to it. So I guess, sure. Dequan, how would you kind of like summarize what they actually had to say?
Oh my gosh.
In terms of what the common, you know, sort of
I will tell people, if you want an even more in-depth look at it, I actually did a video on it like 10 minutes after it went live. I think I managed to get it loaded. But yeah, I think, well, the first thing I'll say is this is kind of an interim period where we have this weird like 2 weeks where we're waiting on the organized play announcement, which comes next Thursday as well, right? And I think that has a chance to have arena impact paper again if those announcements include some amount of standard PTQs, you know, who knows what, when that becomes a thing again. But till then, I think the biggest thing that came out of what they were talking about was mostly, I guess the talking point everybody brought away from that was they were going to sell you wild cards, right? And I think that's a thing that we've needed for a while in Arena, but man, the price point they set it at was just terrible. It's basically going to be...
What, you guys don't have $50?
Yeah, exactly. It's basically going to be $50 for, I believe they said 12 rares and 4 mythic wildcards, which in and of itself, you look and go, okay, well, 16 rares, or I mean, 16
wildcards. Oh my God, I'm a millionaire. You know how many wildcards I have?
Yeah, I think the problem, though, right? You look at it and say, okay, it's only like, what, a little over $3 a card or whatever. That's fine in and of itself. But the reality is it's based on the number of packs you would normally be able to buy for roughly the same amount of money. The problem there is that you're only getting 2 or 3, depending on randomization, more, I guess, rare wild cards than you would get opening the packs. But when you open those packs, you also get all those other cards, right? And some of those might actually be the cards that you were going to spend wild cards on. So you might have actually got to save some of them. And then on top of that, when you get the extra commons and uncommons, those go toward filling up your vault and everything else. And you're not getting that benefit. But no, it's a little bit weird because you're offering the roughly an equivalent thing for the same price, but you're not getting that extra benefit. So realistically, you know, that $50 package, even by arena standard, should probably be like $39 probably.
Well,
you know,
and that gets to sort of what seemed to me the heart of the feedback. I was out of town over the weekend. I didn't actually get to watch the full live stream. But man, did I see the feedback, and people just felt insulted, I think is the word, by that package among some of the, answers offered up by them. But yeah, the fact that they presented this as a good thing, when in reality, this, you just laid out, you could already do this, except you could do it better.
Yeah, it literally just saves you time. It saves you like 15, 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, but that's about it. You know, and that time is not worth, I don't know, the extra money you're spending there. So, I mean, it was stuff like that. You know, they also talked about how they wanted it. I don't know. It sounded like they were trying to protect the pack opening experience, which nobody gives a damn about on Arena. Like, you click a button and a pack opens. Like, if you can open like 10 packs at a time.
I click a button and 10 of them open. Yeah. That's the only way.
Like, the fact is, how many times have you opened like 10 packs, and then you get to 7 and you're like, I have to do all these individually, right? Like, you don't give a damn about opening those packs.
No, I just don't. I just wait.
Exactly. Like, nobody cares. It's not a thing, right? So it was weird to hear them talk about that, and that's part of where they justified some of their decisions. So that was a little bit weird. I mean,
It's Project Booster fun, you know?
yeah, exactly. And I will say this. I think generally, if you do put in the time, like you can build most decks in Arena over the course of like 3-4 weeks with the dailies and everything else. But realistically, like there's a lot of times somebody's like, hey, I'm like 8 cards short of building another deck, right? Is it a bit, hell, even if you wanted to sell them at equivalent price, why not have a lower bundle, right? Like maybe you have something that's a fourth of that, but it only costs $12 or $15 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, there's so many things that would like that. You know, if someone puts a deck together and a button pops up, it says, you need 6 more wild cards to finish this deck. 10% off, sort of.
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
Like, there's just so many things they could actually do if they were, say, a company like Riot that is good at a free-to-play model.
Though, like, and I actually did a video on that not long ago about how we can't really compare games on a one-to-one basis on what each of them offer because
True.
they're all filling different roles for their companies, right? Because as an example, when we talk about like Runeterra, because that's the one people like to use as the recent example, like
Right.
Runeterra, I believe, only did like 16 million in the first year and a half they were operating, roughly a year and a half, like a year and 4 months or something. For a company that does $1.7 billion a year, right? Like they don't have the same goals, the same needs. Like, and even when you talk about engagement, I mean, people like to talk about how, oh, well, there's only a couple thousand people that are watching Magic or whatever. Like, Runeterra draws like a quarter of as many streamer views as Magic does. I was looking just yesterday during prime hours, right? So even that, it's like, well, it is nicer, but is it checking all the boxes and doing all the other things that the companies want? And that's going to be different than, Hearthstone and what that does for Blizzard or whatever, right? They're all trying to do different. Now, I do think there are things we could take away from that for sure, because Arena has a lot of problems. Trust me, I've done content on it. Like, if you want to hear somebody complain, I've got YouTube videos. But yeah, I don't know if saying like we need to be like this other game is necessarily the right path either.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so many. Yeah, I think it feels like there's a lot of sort of easy levers they miss with Arena.
Oh, definitely.
And that's what it seems to annoy people, right?
Even when I step away from like their recent announcement, one of the things I've tried to say is that they have a bunch of quality of life issues that they could fix. And because we're dumb humans, I mean, marketing works all the same way for everything. But like, if you make things feel nicer, we'll pay more and gripe less, right? It's literally that simple. Like, just, the fact that I have to click 3 times to open a booster pack, like, or even buy a booster pack. I mean, like, why is that a thing? Like, just let me buy 10x booster packs one time, done.
The basic land thing is sort of the poster child of this for me. You can't, for those who aren't aware, you can't set a default basic land on Arena, and when it shows you all of your lands, you may have 7 or 8 different land styles that are cool, right? You have like some of the full art Innistrad lands, or the Zendikar lands, or the unhinged lands from giveaways, or blah blah blah, right? But you have to go through every basic land art to find those, and you have to do it for every deck. So when I build, for instance, a limited deck in a sealed pool, it'll automatically add whatever. I add a blue card, it's going to put 17 basic islands of a random kind in there. And then you have to click 17 times to remove those islands. And then you have to go find the islands you want. And you're right. Like, it's just, what an easy win for someone to spend a week.
And that's literally the one quality of life thing they did announce that is coming. They actually found a way to do it. So I'm like, oh my goodness, finally.
Found a way.
Yeah, like
small indie company found a way.
2 years later, like, come on. Yeah, so it's stuff like that, because there are neat things where when you first start playing Arena, they have like the $5 package that comes with like some boosters, whatever. Like, those are good little values. Like, they should have more of those available for people. I think the problem is when somebody's new and starting Arena, like, you look at it and go, okay, I can build the deck right out. Like, I guess now, if you wanted to build some decks, you could buy like 2 packages of those wild cards when they're available. But that's still like $100. Like, you can go, I don't know, on Steam and download like 6 games for that or whatever. Like, it's going to be hard for some people to justify, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem to be, one of the things I've noted coming out of the discourse of this topic is that it seems to be a lot like the discourse of any other Magic topic, where at the end of the day, Wizards seems to take what the community would consider to be a more profit-driven path, you know, like a greedier path, if you will, right? To just keep margins high for the company. And it seems like Arena's going the same way as they are used to in paper. I mean, this is a company that built itself on selling pieces of cardboard that it makes for pennies for $4, right? Like
Yeah.
they're used to a certain profit margin here,
But
and it's not
they
1% flipping.
Hunting the whales at all for decades. They really
No, they weren't.
mismanaged
Yeah.
how much they could get from the people who could afford it, because there's only so many booster packs you can buy before your house is full of draft chaff, and you don't need that shit. So as much as like we sort of our buttholes puckered when we heard they were going to sell like singles directly to consumers, and they were going to, you know, as much as if you showed me the Street Fighter Secret Lair like 5 years ago, I would have like vomited. It's kind of the way it's going, and they're finding new ways to at least get people to buy premium versions of stuff rather than inventing new stuff for whales. So
Yeah, and
I like what they're doing in paper outside of the killing the LGS part of this whole equation. I like the moves they're making in paper when it comes to like the secret layer sort of compromise they have now, where they're going to reprint the cards as real Magic cards or whatever later on. I think that's the right approach, you know.
yeah,
The Hidek Sugu promos are also
oh yeah, that's fantastic. You know, and I think that's the reason anybody who's paid attention wasn't that surprised by the Arena announcement, because this is kind of what we expected. You know what I mean? Like, it's part, like, it would have been news had they done any of those other things. But the fact that they announced what
Yeah.
they did, we kind of went, all right, yeah, that checks out. Like, you know, like,
Well, at some point, you do have to give them credit for getting out there in the line of fire too, because
sure.
a lot of companies just don't do that, right?
I mean, hats
know,
off to
it's-
Blake for just being in the middle of it, and you know, I guess being the MC for that whole thing. But
Yeah,
Good on
yeah.
he
him.
doesn't
I
get paid enough for that. That was brutal.
you know, speaking of things he doesn't get paid enough for, he had to train me on coverage back in the day.
nice.
So
Blake's a good dude, though. He really is. Like,
2014, he taught me at my first GP. Was he showed me the ways.
I feel bad for him sometimes, where I'm going like, man, he's too nice of a guy for that. Like, but he takes it well. He does take it well.
I don't know how well you know Blake. He's a very nice guy, but if you play Magic with him a couple times, sometimes you're like, yeah, he's fine.
He's
He's
I have
he's
not actually
ruthless,
ever
so,
played Magic with him. I've sat and talked with him a few times. I've not played Magic with him. But yeah,
Oh, the man is a prolific drafter, Magic Online fiend.
nice.
Anyways,
Not Arena.
I'm sure he's on Arena these days.
You just
He doesn't do
accused
the Pro
him
Tours
of
anymore,
not being
so
on Arena.
You know, though,
hey, everyone's on Arena. It's
I
the
will
future.
say, I think the reason people were bent out of shape about the Arena thing, though, is I think it's so close to being within reach of a lot of people, right? Like, if
Yeah.
a couple of things were cheaper, or if there were some other starter product, or honestly, there should be just because here's my concern. Like, let's say you want to get on and start playing Historic or whatever.
Mhm.
They mentioned there's going to be some Pioneer like format that's going to be coming soon as well.
Yeah, saw that.
So let's
Yeah.
say you want to hop in and play that because you play Pioneer and paper. Like, that's going to be a very expensive ordeal. Like, the average person hopping in might have to spend $150 to $200, depending. Whether that's buying boosters to get wild cards or whatever, or just buying the wild card bundles or whatever. And it's like, there should be some type of intro pack, or like maybe, you know, if you're building your first deck for the format, you get whatever things for 50% off or something, or like, there has to be ways to make it more affordable and increase the engagement. Heck, honestly,
Yeah,
simple stuff like just, hey, let's give people a reward for playing 3 days, 7 days in a row, 15 days in a row, whatever, right? Something like that. Or where they spent the whole thing talking about, well, we want it to be about people's collections and the pack openings and whatever. Okay, cool. But even just to go through our cards is pretty basic and boring. You haven't done anything to
Yeah.
make the collection exciting, right?
and you can't. It's really, really difficult to make that argument when they don't have duplicate protection for the
Yeah, exactly.
the rares that are duplicated across sets.
Yeah.
So
That
that's almost, it's like to the point of stretching believability.
Yeah. And
to be
and
like,
again,
it's
that's
about the
something
collection.
they touched on that got brought up, which for some reason apparently the technology is connected to the thing about getting your preferred basics. I don't know why, but he mentioned now that they have.
I mean, the technology, I think, is to me when they were like, we don't have the technology. That was just like code for we haven't been paid.
Yeah, we
work on
didn't
it.
prioritize it until now. It's
Like
basically what that
the
is.
developers were told to work on other things.
So yeah,
that
like
means.
that was the thing coming away from it. It was like there's a bunch of little stuff that could still be done that I don't even think impacts Wizards' bottom line. Just for whatever reason, it's just not getting done, and I don't know why.
And whether it's related or not, it feels like Arena suffers from sort of the same problem that Paper Magic feels like it suffers from. And again, not saying from a sales point it does, but certainly from a content creator standpoint, the fatigue is real. Arena just has a million things thrown at it these days. And something like Historic, when it was just going to be the home of old standards, it developed on its own and sort of neatly and slowly and at a low power level. And then it's like, okay, well, we're going to do these historic anthologies. That was the big thing. And at first it was like, okay, well, that's kind of neat because this isn't so bad. Every 6 months, they're releasing 20 cards that are tailored towards certain things. That's cool. I can do that every 6 months and keep up with the format. But then within a year, it's Strixhaven, Mystical Archives legal, and this and that. And then it's alchemy only cards. And then it's basically, some of all the new designs are just being so powerful. And it just got so bloated so fast in the same way that Paper Magic has a billion different things coming down the pipe every other week and you can't focus on anything. And the not everything's for you is where we're at on Arena very quickly. Not everything on Arena is for you. You get to choose what part of Arena you want to interact with, seems to be the messaging, or you spend a ton of money to interact with all of it. And that's, it's just bloated. It runs out of steam real quick because it eats itself.
It's funny you mentioned the historic anthologies because that's been one of my other arguments of like, they already have a basic plan for you to just purchase cards for what you need. So like, why isn't that done more often? Like literally with this alchemy stuff, you could literally just say, hey, you want to buy all the alchemy, hell, even if it's just all the alchemy rares or whatever, like here you go, I don't know, $40, $50. You just buy them. Great. Now you can go play alchemy. You know what I mean? Like we've done that for anthologies. Why can't we do that for these little subsets as well? It's weird because they can't even say like we can't do it because you have another model that people have done it and bought them from you. And you obviously made some money because you ran it back and did it again. So why are we not doing it?
They turned to it's from the outside looking in, right? It looks like Hasbro, Wizards, whoever they flipped the profit switch on Arena.
Sure.
They said this is the point of the life cycle of the product we're at. Product is what it is. Time to make money off of it. Sink it all in there. Pull all the money out you can.
Also, in my experience, more of the decisions are made at Wizards than Hasbro. Contrary to popular belief. A lot of that is done by Wizards.
Yeah. I mean, I think that,
but it's not like they didn't just promote the CEO of Watson to Hasbro. So
sure.
It's the ethos, I think, is sort of the people I think sort of envision this evil stakeholder at Hasbro pulling the strings to manipulate evil WotC people to evilly manipulate WotC people into doing things they don't want to do. But yeah, like Jason said, the reality is
those guys are interchangeable.
Yeah, but I mean,
years and years ago, they brought in somebody from outside of Wizards to
wasn't it
pull
from
the
Haynes
company
or something like that? It's
to pull the company forward.
Being a
and
CEO
then that person
is
is now
harder
the
than
CEO
understanding
of
the
Hasbro.
product I'm selling. So
he actually formerly worked with one of the technology, maybe Microsoft. I'm not.
He was a gamer, too.
Who
like for what it's worth,
previous to that,
we're talking about Chris Cox.
Chris Cox. He also worked for one of the like children's technologies before that, like one of not Play School, but one of the companies that made like electronic toys for kids or whatever. He worked for them as well. So but he was a true gamer. Like he actually played D&D. Matter of fact, one of the first things he did to meet a lot of the people at the company was to actually he scheduled like a series of board game lunches where he would take 6 or 7 people from around the company. He'd pay for lunch and then, just talk about business stuff or the state of Wizards or whatever over lunch, over a board game.
Yeah, Chris Cox seems smart.
Oh yeah, the dude knows his stuff.
I'm glad I'm glad. I don't know. It seems like if somebody at Hasbro is going to be making WotC do things, and an increasingly large percentage of their profits is going to come just from Magic, I think somebody that's very well versed in Magic is a good choice.
Yeah, makes sense.
Hasbro's quickly becoming the Magic the Gathering show, because I guess nobody wants to buy a 15th copy of Monopoly.
No, I don't think it's that. I think for Hasbro, one of the things people were missing is that, like, you have to push off the Transformers movie to 2023, right? Because people are just now getting back to movie theaters. You're just getting back to where you can get your recording studios and stuff, your film studios up and running. Like, there was some contracts tied to movies where they normally get merchandise and stuff, where those sales were going to be down because of the pandemic. So there's a lot of that stuff that really isn't going to get back to normal until probably the later half of this year, for the most part. And then you'll probably see some of those profit numbers shift for a lot of stuff at Hasbro. But I think when people see the numbers and they're just going like, oh, that only made that much. And it's like, well, yeah, but Magic was one of the things in their portfolio that wasn't affected by the pandemic. Like, we were still able to play on Spell Table, and we still played Arena, and we still played Magic Online, and people still collected cards to play Commander with their cousins or whatever. You weren't really able to, like, the new Spider-Man movie didn't even come out till just recently, which they had a contract to make Spider-Man merchandise, so even that being pushed back cost them some amount of money in 2021.
Magic has been counter-recessionary.
Oh, always.
In the entirety of its existence, which is, like on the surface level, something people wouldn't necessarily expect, but it's been that way time and time again. And, look, the reality is Wizards as a company has come a very long way in terms of no longer, they can't stay the same company they were in 1995 forever, right? So it is what it is, and it comes with some good and some bad.
For Duelist Magazine.
Hey, I wrote for Scry, so I feel you. No,
oh,
it's funny.
Jealous.
Nice.
It's funny you mentioned that, though, being recession proof, because I've had to explain that to people. Is if you go back and look, it's usually the hobbies that people already participate in, because people don't go find new things during a recession or hard times. They go back to things they already know, right? So you go in your closet and you find those Magic cards, Pokemon cards, I don't know, your football cards that you collect or whatever. And then you're like, oh, well, I can pick up a few more of these, or I can fill out the set that I wanted to complete a while back or whatever, right? And that is what you spend your time on. Or small costing. Like, I know people who picked up, like, disc golf blew up during COVID because it was a thing you could still go do. You didn't have to be around a bunch of people, right? So it's either going to be that stuff that people are going to go find that's new, or they're going to turn to stuff they already know. And that's why when the pandemic started, people are like, oh, what are you going to do making content for Magic? I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. I don't know what y'all are talking about. Like, I saw what happened in 07, 08. We're going to be all right. Like, we got this.
Yeah. Jason can speak to that from the EDHREC side as well. It's that things. The pandemic did not slow any of that down.
Oh, not at all. Like,
the opposite.
Yeah. I get way more requests for things. As people found out I was on the Commander Advisory Group, that became a thing. Like, I will say, Commander players there's just not enough content for them. They are rabid for more and more stuff, like more information, more cards, more combos, more bulk price cool stuff. Like, it's endless for them.
Well, that's right. Speaking of bulk price cool stuff, it's time for Breaking Bulk.
Breaking Bulk time. Breaking Bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, Breaking Bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking Bulk. The end.
Wow, Corbin. 96 minutes into the episode. You did it, man.
I should have done it earlier, but here we
I'm
are.
good at what I did. I tried to give you a segue in there, make it easy.
I missed an opportunity earlier, but here we are, and I'm going to kick things off with a green uncommon from Throne of Eldraine.
Ooh, green uncommon.
Is it Okame? What's his nits?
No.
What?
Really?
Oh, it's the uncommon. It's the thing that dang it, give stuff protection or whatever. Something of Autumn. Oh, okay, it's not that.
What kind of card is it, man?
Enchantment.
Oh crap! From Throne of Eldraine, an enchantment.
Is it an aura? Why are you being so quiet, Corbin?
There's two options for enchantments here that are worth a little bit of money. One of them's a trap, and one of them's the right answer.
Kenrith's Transformation.
All right, Kinzer's Transformation is the right
That makes
answer.
sense.
Trail of Crumbs was the trap answer, because Trail of
Yeah.
Crumbs is actually a very heavily played card in formats that are played on Magic Arena. It's only a quarter in paper, whereas Kinder's Transformation is 75 cents. It's a 2-mana green aura. When Aaron is played, draw a card. Enchanted creature loses all abilities and is an elk.
This has multiple printings also, which is a little nutty.
It's just it's a cool card. Yeah. This was in
AFR
Commander Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. Yeah, this card has gone. What's interesting is after that reprint, this card has gone back up in price. It had, it was 50 cents or lower, and in 2022, it's gone up even more. So yeah, I mean, I don't have EDH Rec in front of me to see how much it's played, but apparently it's more than none.
36,000 decks.
I think it's one of those things where previously when cards get reprinted, you would think it would just tank the price. But I think there's cards that have gone largely undiscovered by a lot of players, especially newer players that started in the last year or whatever. So when it gets reprinted, all of a sudden a bunch of people go like, oh, this card's cool. I need to add it to my other 5 decks. And I think so when they're on the cheap end, I think it can push stuff up to being $1.50.
Decks are purchased by people that build decks, which is why you don't see giant piles of Soul Rings.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like people who bought the deck with Kenrith's Transformation in it, people don't build when they have a precon, they edit the precon by taking out all the cards they don't want and replacing them with cards they do, versus starting at 0 and building up. If you were starting at 0, you would be less likely to include Kenrith's Transformation in your deck unless you just had it from playing in paper. But if you were going to cut down, Kenrith's Transformation seems too good to cut.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a pre-con effect thing going here, but it's still played twice as much as my guess, which was Okame Adversary, which is a CEDH card, which is why it's only worth a quarter.
I'm just dumbfounded that, like, I don't know. I guess Soul Rings have like 52 printings or something now, and you cannot have enough Soul Rings. Like
Because every Soul Ring has a deck.
Yeah, every person I
associated
talk
with
to,
it.
every web vendor, whatever, like can sell infinite Soul Rings. Like they sell hundreds at a time.
It's physically painful for me to take apart a commander deck.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like some people have like 50 commander decks. And I literally didn't have my third until a few months ago. And I've been playing since the beginning of the format.
Was it
Yeah,
your third
I think
deck
I've been on a
total, or
1 a
like
year
you just
pace.
keep 2 together and you keep
No, my third
churning?
deck total. I literally have one commander deck that I just change cards in and out of all the time. And then I built a second, which was mostly because I bought a collection and it was like 3/4 built already. And then I found another collection where it had like half of a sliver deck. So I just went and dug through all my stuff and then bought like 6 cards and finished it off.
All right, Jason, what do you got?
I got a stumper.
Okay.
Do you?
This is a gold common from Ravnica, City of Guilds.
Oh, common.
What color?
A gold
What color?
common instant from Ravnica, City of Guilds.
If this was from previous Ravnica, I would have said it's one of the charms. But
Mortify.
Mortify wasn't in Ravnica.
Putrefy.
wasn't that
No, it's
uncommon
not
though?
Putrefy.
Lignify.
Putrefy was uncommon in
Yeah.
Ravnica.
Lignify.
Lignify was not in that set. Lignify was probably printed a decade later.
It's a gold
Liquefy.
Is Liquefy a card?
I think I'm out of cards.
common. Yeah, exactly. I was like, I don't think that was in that set.
Yeah. I don't think I have any more cards that fit that
I truly don't know what this is.
mold there.
It is Demir. Demir instant common from Ravnica. It has transmute.
Demir instant common from Ravnica that has
I
transmute.
would suspect that Corbin has a copy of this card in his Nico
Oh my
Balls
gosh.
deck.
I couldn't even with transmute?
Transmute.
I think I'm gonna be genuinely.
I'm trying to
stunned at
remember
this.
I'm trying to remember what the transmute.
Actually,
What
this
other-
isn't great in Nico Bolas, is it? It is perplex. Counter target spell unless its controller discards their hand.
I actually forgot that had transmute on it.
I've picked a bunch of these recently.
Perplex.
Really? I need to go look that up now. I truly.
Buck
wow.
Buckfitty. You got these in your bulk for show, because I know I do.
I picked a bunch of these out of bulk recently. It's a good one.
Dude, you know what?
And yet,
I don't think I've
when it came
ever
time for Breaking
transmuted this
Bulk-
card. Like, I've actually used it as an actual spell. I totally forgot that was on there.
Its transmute cost is the same as its mana cost.
Yeah.
Almost every card, not almost every card, but a handful of cards with transmute are all good breaking bulks because they're worth a non-zero amount because of that.
Yeah. Like Drift of Phantasms and junk like that. Like, it's...
Ethereal Usher, I believe, was another at one point.
Yeah,
I'm
like
not
how
sure if
much
it
is
anymore.
Muddle the Mixture worth? That's a $5 card.
Well, that one's very good, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Dequan, what do you have for us in Breaking Bulk?
Mine's like one that's kind of known, but a little bit surprising. But this is actually an artifact that has, I think, 12 printings
Goodness.
and still carries some value.
What was
Okay.
The
first...
earliest printing might have been Ravnica City of Guilds, I think was the earliest printing.
is...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the earliest.
Multiple printings, Ravnica...
Yeah, it has either 11 or 12. It's a lot.
What's the rarity?
It's I think it was originally an uncommon, but reprinted down to a common. No, it was actually common initially as well. It was actually a common.
Ravnica Common, million printings.
Is it a signet
It is indeed a signet.
Okay.
of some kind?
Those aren't in your bulk, but...
Oh, you'd be surprised. I've gone through
Oh,
many,
yeah,
many
I
collections recently,
definitely-
and this is why I know
Yeah.
this, because I was even surprised it went up to as much as it did. But these are Selesnya signets that are about $1.50 now.
I think the $1.50 ones were from the guild kit or whatever. Maybe?
No,
Of the signets?
the regular Ravnica ones, they're like
They're
$1.25,
all of them.
$1.50.
All of them are worth money.
Yeah, the other ones
With
are
a-
worth like $2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Every
that one,
signet
and I
is-
think
it's
the
great.
Rakdos signet, no, the Golgari signet might be the other expensive one as well. Like those two,
The mirror signet's always been expensive for sure.
yeah.
Okay, there were way fewer printings than you think.
Oh, really? I thought there were. Maybe they weren't. Let me go look it up.
Of
1, 2,
Of,
3,
Celestia
4,
signet?
5,
Yeah.
6, 7.
6.
Okay, I've had 7, but yeah, 6. That's fair. For some reason, I thought there was a lot.
Well,
more.
they list the foil and the non-foil.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So
yeah,
it's-
and the thing is, like Commander, original Commander.
Yeah.
That's a decade ago, more than a decade ago, I think. Right? Commander 2013. That's a decade ago.
oh my
right?
god,
That probably
Commander
came out in-
2013 was almost at like
Yeah.
Yeah, Commander Anthology. Does that even count? And then Guild Kits and Modern Masters probably the only big reprint there. Yeah, I mean it makes sense that you'd see signets. But what's interesting
those
about
guild kits were
Celestia
tight.
signets?
Do you think anybody knew that Aurelia the War Leader would get back up to $30?
Oh,
when
not
we
at
were
all.
Buying a $25 guild kit.
Oh,
Privileged
wow.
positions like $20, and that was
Yeah.
in a guild kit. You know?
Those had some good
Crazy.
reprints
Jay.
in those.
I did not know that about Aurelia the War Leader.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I looked up Aurelia
Privileged
the other
position,
day.
Legion Loyalist, Glimpse the Unthinkable,
heck?
Shattering Spree, Deathrite, Shaman,
What the
Abrupt
heck?
Decay, Stitch in Time, Boros Charm, Niv Mizzet. It's they were good. I bought a bunch of the Selesnya ones because I figured Privileged Position would get to the cost of the guild kit and all the other cards would be free. And it took 3 years, but I was right. Those basics are hot.
I got a lot of
Those
those.
are-
I got a lot of the foil
Those are
basics and
$1.50
stuff
basics
from that window.
Yeah.
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 Because I was able just to
I honestly
trade
didn't
like
know much about
just
those.
mid-rangey bulk that I had for some of them, so I just got as many as I could.
Well, Guilds of
Fantastic stuff.
Ravnica for me, by the way, while we're on, that was like the peak for me. Of
What is Guilds of Ravnica? Is that like a book? What was that?
No, that was a set, dude.
Ravnica City of Guilds, you mean?
Yeah.
No,
No, because there's Guilds of Ravnica
Guilds-
was the next.
Guilds of
there was the
Ravnica
three.
was the most recent.
Yeah, there was
one.
three groups of 3, and that was one of them.
There was a set called Guilds of Ravnica? No.
Yes, it was Guilds of Ravnica, then Ravnica Allegiance. GRN, yes?
Yep.
Oh my god, what a terrible name for a set. That name is so bad it just slid off my brain. That's so funny. Like, I made fun of you for saying that because it sounded
great.
so dumb to me.
No, look, to
Goodness.
me, that was the height of modern Magic. Everyone has their own sort of time or whatever. But for me, I think Pro Tour Guilds of Ravnica was sort of the height of coverage and paper coverage and the Pro Tour. And the format was great before they started just destroying things with massively overpowered cards.
Sure.
And we just had Shockland reprints, and the limited in those two sets was so good. And then we had War of the Spark, and everything
Went
War
In
of
the
sideways.
the
end, it
Spark
didn't
was
even
such
matter.
a crazy set. Because that was the one that tested my finance knowledge, because I said, I think every card in the set's going to be $3 in 3 years. I think every card's going to be $3, which means like boxes are never going to get cheap enough for you to like bust them to get whatever the card
Yeah.
is. But like, what was the card from War of the Spark?
Liliana?
Like the green thing, the
Finale of Devastation?
yeah.
Yeah. That's like,
Like-
what, $35 or something?
Yeah, so it's
Very
not even like
expensive.
worth it to buy boxes at 100 and bust them, even though there's like Shocklands and stuff in there. War of the Spark's a crazy set. I'm still waiting for something to be like, oh, this is a $40 card finally.
Well, you're not far
Yeah.
from it. There's a couple still on the cusp there, so.
Yeah, and just I kind of thought we'd have like $3 uncommon planeswalkers, but they just I don't know.
Yeah, that's those. None of those. Well, a couple of them, but a lot of them.
I think
just
the most
didn't
expensive
at all.
uncommon in the set is like Dovin's Veto or something.
Probably Dovin's Veto is a.
Yeah, I
If
think
only
that's
we
like
could
$3.
go to mtgstocks.com and just type in the name of the set and look it up. That's just one of the many tools that are available at mtgstocks.com. Don't have three of you sit around on a podcast where all three of you have access to the internet and not know
That's
prices.
true.
You can instantly win any argument by going to mtgstocks.com. They have MTGs and stocks, but they don't have the MTG that we don't like. That she's like in Congress right now,
Although
like,
MTG
grilling
and
an
stock,
overqualified woman, and she can't take stock of the situation, but you can. You can go to mtgstocks.com, type in the name of the set, look it up, and find out what the expensive cards are in that set. Win a bet.
All right, apologies for the abrupt cut there. There was, let's just say, that pitch developed into some after hours, so you can go check that out at patreon.com/.
JJ, leave it
PSP.
all in completely intact or you're fired.
But of course, always shout out and thank you to mtgstocks.com for sponsoring this podcast. Go check out all of their premium features. Before we get out of here this week, we want to, of course, wrap up with Pick of the Week.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
That's
Jason,
what
why don't you
people
go
love.
ahead
They
and,
love a top-heavy episode where we do breaking bulk and pick of the week separated by an ad pitch. That's what.
That's good business, though. You got the pitch in while they're waiting for the next thing, so you did it right. That's all.
Jason, we opened the podcast by pitching. Do you recall? You don't, because it comes so natural.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Literally, I think my intro bit was a pitch as an intro to your segment pitch, which was a pitch.
This is a real pitchy episode.
You know,
It's called
We could
paying
call
the
this
bills, man.
pitch
You got to pay the bills.
perfect. You know what'll pay the bills? Buying my pick of the week at its floor, which I think it is currently at. Can $1,000 elixir get any cheaper? It's like $4 right now. That's not right.
like that card.
Could it get printed again in the next 2 years? Yeah. Would that be bad for everyone who paid $4? Not catastrophic. This will never be a $2 card unless they start printing it every 6 months. So $1,000 year elixir.
Mm-hmm.
$4. Ooh, love it. Real cheap, real dirty magic card. Does two things that you need magic cards to do. So get yourself some 1,000-year elixirs and chug them. Is it called a 1,000-year elixir because you live for 1,000 years, or is it like a 1,000-year egg?
Well,
I think
it was
it's like
originally
1,000 year egg.
Morrowind, right? Yeah,
Okay.
it was on Lore One, whatever that means, originally.
Yeah, are you drinking? Maybe it's like the wine from that Rick and Morty episode.
What?
We'd have to watch it.
I would have to watch that show.
I've seen so little of that show.
Watched it.
Season 5, episode 1, I think. I don't
Get
know.
out of here.
All right, $1,000 elixir. Buy them while they're cheap.
Great.
What do you got, Corbin?
My pick this week is a different kind of card. I mean, speaking of War of the Spark, I went and looked at that set and noticed that a card that's seen a lot of play in Historic and that just seems fundamentally broken and yet is kind of stalled out in price and paper is Bolas's Citadel. 6-mana legendary artifact. You can look at the top card of your library anytime. You can play it by paying life, sacrifice 10 land permanents. Each opponent loses 10 life. This has been a combo engine in Standard and Historic at different times, and I assume it is going to show up at some amount of time as a combo engine in Commander. But it's seen some upward price movement before. It was at one point $10. It's climbed down. It's fallen down to almost to about $6 now, and it's just kind of a card that's fundamentally broken. And I just think if in this $5 price range it's heading to, it just seems like a pretty decent pickup from that set.
Yeah, it actually has seen some play in a few modern things recently as well. I saw some last weekend where people were pushing those. So may not be a bad pickup because it's not the type of card that's going to get reprinted anytime soon.
Yeah, it's kind of like an Aetherflux Reservoir, just in the sense that it's just kind of going to be up to no good because it does a fundamentally broken thing. And Aetherflux Reservoir, not exactly, setting the world on fire, and yet it's $15, right? So Bolas's Citadels is sort of the same type of card in the way it's used, I think. All right, Dequan, what you get to honors of going last this week. What do you want to get us out of here with?
I've got a pretty interesting one, and I'm going with Archon of Sun's Grace from Theros Beyond Death.
Yeah.
And the reason I actually like this one is it's a kind of a unique mechanic, and I don't see us doing another set for a while that's going to be very enchantment heavy. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of reprint openings for this, which is one of the reasons I like it. And it's only about $3 right now, though I think the ceiling for this is maybe only somewhere around $6 or $7. But you could double your money on it and probably are safe to hold on to them for probably about a year. Mostly looking at this year, I don't think we're going to be doing a lot of enchantment stuff with Capenna, probably not with Dominaria, and we know there's going to be a lot of artifacts at the end of the year because of the Brothers' War. So you're probably clear until probably around February-ish next year at the very least. So it could be a good short-term pickup if you're willing to flip these once they get over about the $5 mark.
Yeah, that card was very powerful.
Yeah, and I think in
Won
Commander...
a World Championship, if I recall.
In Commander, it fits a couple of cool builds. I think there's some interesting stuff you can do with this, too.
Yeah, it is definitely one of those that fits into sort of... It's very easy to go into an enchantment deck of any kind of flavor, right, in Commander.
Definitely.
For sure. All right, well, I think that pretty much wraps it up for us this week. Dequan, thank you so much for coming on. Remind people, where can they find you across the internet if they want to follow you and more of your content?
Everywhere at Power Dragon, POWRDRAGN, and I have YouTube content literally every day. I've done 1,100 videos in just over 2 years on my channel. So if you want content, go check it out. Or if you want to check out my podcast.
That's 2 a day.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. It's like 1.45 a day or something like that. I did the math not long ago. But yeah, you can also check out my podcast called Color of Magic if you want to look that up.
Absolutely. Well, everyone go do that. Thank you again for coming on. And everybody, look, if you hated the talk about Arena, hopefully you learned something. You won't have to hear about it next week. And if you enjoyed the talk about Arena, thanks for listening. It's certainly a part of the game. And, on this podcast, we try to bring you people who can talk about all aspects of this game. We, I think, have one of the most sort of... I love all the different corners of the Magic economy we've been able to talk to, and having someone on who has both got insight on the content creator end as well as so many of the other experiences, and being able to talk a little bit about Arena and commiserate with me, at least on that one, was a welcome change on the podcast. So thanks so much for coming on, man.
Anytime.
Everybody else, thank you for listening. I'm Corbin Hosser on behalf of Jason, DJ. We hope you get to feeling better. Everybody else, we'll see you next week.
Did you just say goodbye to people on my behalf? I'm here. Why are you like this? I can talk for myself, man. This is embarrassing.
You can just go ahead and cut all that, JJ.
Leave it in.
with
That's
Jason there.
You got to
It's like
hear.
just
People
outro
need to
music.
hear how he infantilizes me. Oh.